Am I the a-hole for telling my grandparents/relatives that I didn't move out for college? I moved out as I got kicked out when I turned 18? Hey everyone. I'm 18 male. A few weeks ago it was my birthday. I turned 18, as soon as I turned 18, at 12 a.m. while I was sleeping in my room. My dad knocked on the door, turned the lights on, pulled my blanket off and told me get up, and get out of my house, you are 18 now. I already knew I was going to be kicked out at 18 as my mom/dad often mentioned to me in the house, when you're 18 you're out of the house, or they'd say something, I can't wait till your mother and I get some alone/quiet time when you leave this house at 18. They already had plans to kick me out before anyway, so I already knew it. But I wasn't worried as I have a good/decent savings amount of $5,000 I earned from freelancing on the side. And ever since I turned 18, I've been making a decent/income, as well off that doing it full time right now. I can afford an apartment in my area, and essentials and some nice stuff as well. So that day I got kicked out, I packed all my stuff in a suitcase. I left. I slept the night at my best friend's house. Woke up and same day I arranged an apartment through a landlord I know personally. Now I have my own apartment, and am living by myself. Today I had a group FaceTime call where my grandparents, aunt, uncle, mom, dad, etc. were all in the FaceTime call. My grandpa asked, so, name, your father told me you moved out right, to attend college. Which college are you attending? I told my grandpa, no grandpa, I didn't move out to attend college, I moved out cause I was kicked out. My grandpa face immediately turned from a happy, smiling face to an angry, shocked face, and he basically went off on my mom and dad. Man said cuss words I never heard of before. Lol, he scolded my parents like for 2 hours live on FaceTime with all of our relatives on the group FaceTime call. After the group FaceTime ended, my mom/dad gave me a call personally and they were pissed. They said never before has your grandpa insulted us, today he did because of you, ahole, cuss word, and some more cuss words, and they finally end the call. So am I the a-hole for telling my grandparents that I got kicked out? Not the a-hole who does this to their own child on their 18th birthday? They lied because they knew how their actions would look to others. If they were embarrassed, then they only have themselves to blame. I'm glad you told your grandparents the truth, and I'm so sorry that your 18th was so rubbish. Hopefully you can celebrate your birthday, as well as leaving your parents behind, with your friends soon, that's if you haven't already. Am I the a-hole for telling off a lady at the beach who asked my son to cover up? I'm 37 male, a little on the fence if I'm in a hole for what happened. My son, 17, and I hit the beach yesterday for the first time in years. A few years ago my son was in a car accident. Thank God he survived. However, he was left with some serious burns all over his shoulder and torso. He's had skin graft surgeries on more affected areas. It's been a long process for him and all of us. His scars are still pretty visible, so that's something he's been very self-conscious about. It took him lots of time in therapy until he was able to even look at himself in the mirror. It hurt a lot to see him so depressed, being so self-conscious about his body. My son is much more comfortable now. He can look at himself, take his shirt off to go swimming in our pool. Only thing he hasn't done is be shirtless in public, which he wanted to do, so we decided to have a beach day, just us, me and him. I'm guessing you can tell where this is going. There were some kids staring and pointing when we got close to them, but my son ignored while we kept playing ball in the water. Later on this lady comes to ask, and she's saying it in a fake sweet voice, if my son would mind putting his shirt back on. It's not that she has a problem with it, but her family and all their kids are here and it's too visible to ignore. Some of the kids are a little freaked out by it, she said. My son, to my surprise, tells the lady they can look somewhere else instead of at his scars if it's such a big deal. She got irritated real fast. Now she's looking at me expecting me to do something. But I pretty much said the same thing. If the kids are so freaked out about it, maybe now is a good time to show them not everybody is the same and it's nothing to be scared of. This lady would not let it go. To avoid my son hearing more than he needed to, we walked off away from the water, then gave this lady a piece of my mind. I told her it's people like her that made it so hard for him to be comfortable in his own body, so why doesn't she shut the frick up and get out of my face? If it bothers her so much, then she can get the hell out with her family. She told me I'm such a disrespectful shithead because she came here asking politely, and instead I reacted with nothing but hostility. They did end up leaving. My son didn't want to be in the water anymore after that, but luckily after a while he wasn't so bummed out anymore. Thing is, I've never had an interaction with someone like that before. Let alone cussed at a total stranger. Yes, I know how kids can be, so maybe for hers they found it scary, but also this whole thing made me go into protective Papa Bear mode knowing what my son has gone though, so I'd like to know if I was in a hole for how I treated her. Not the a-hole. Here's the thing, op. She was saying it in a polite tone. That doesn't mean it's polite. There's a difference. The polite thing to do would have been to tell the kids what you said, that everyone is different, and there's nothing to be scared or ashamed of. Your son is a freaking warrior, having gone through what he has. I wish you both all the best. Am I the a-hole for not letting my fiance's niece try my engagement ring? I female 36 recently got engaged to my fiancé, male 34. He's in the military and has an extended family. He's close to his sister and 21-year-old niece. His Bill is deceased. When I met his niece, she seemed sweet but kept making passive-aggressive comments about me. Like how I look older than my fiancé, how we're incompatible just due to our star signs or whatever. And when we announced my engagement, she told my fiancé he is moving too fast. We've been dating for almost 3 years, long-distance relationship. Yesterday I visited my future in-laws and his sister and niece were there. His niece saw my ring and commented on it saying, "I bet this is the fanciest one you've ever got. Just like my uncle." I felt offended and thought that was rude, but I ignored her because of how Mill was looking at me. But she, his niece, asked if she could try the ring on. I was taken aback. I said no. She asked again, but I still said no. Next thing I knew, she got up from her seat and stood in front of me, extending her arm, expecting me to take the ring off and give it to her. I was like, what the frick? I said, "Please go back to your seat." I already said no. Sister-in-law said it was fine, but I said I just didn't feel comfortable. Sister-in-law then looked at me quizzically and was like, "Are you serious? That's his niece, just let her try it on." I said, "I'm sorry, but no." Niece threw a fit and went upstairs. Her mom said I had no reason to act like this and said she didn't get what my problem is. I took my purse about to leave after she kept berating me for not letting her daughter try the ring. Mill asked me to stay, but I insisted on leaving. Sister-in-law tried calling me, and because I needed time to answer, she sent a text saying my behavior was alarming and that she will bring this incident up to her brother when he gets back because she sensed that I'm trying to drive a wedge between her daughter and my fiancé for whatever reason. We haven't talked after that and I really don't know what to think of this. I don't know if I acted poorly, but I'll leave this to you. Maybe I'm missing something. Am I the a-hole? Background for some clarification. My fiancé has 2 sisters and he's close to this particular sister and her daughter. Her daughter hangs out a lot with him and sometimes refers to him as Kev. I found that a bit weird, but since he's the youngest uncle, he has 2 older brothers too, then I thought no problem. She follows all his SM accounts and even knows some of his friends. Also, she drives his car whenever he visits and uses his workout equipment as well. I talked to him about some boundaries, but his sister gave me no chance and accused me of putting space between the family and him, so I kept my mouth shut. Not the a-hole. Niece is acting like she's in love with your husband. WTF. She's jealous of his attention towards you. I'd stay away from her and her mom for a while. And if anyone asks it, just say the ring means a lot to me. I just don't ever want to take it off. This. Or in my family it's bad luck to pass engagement and wedding rings around. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom to wash their eyes out with soap? After she saw a raunchy photo of my wife? Throwaway account. My wife, Tiana, gave birth to our beautiful son 7 months ago. She works from home and enjoys sending me pictures and videos of my son and the 2 of them together. Some of the pictures are plain selfies, others are impromptu, elaborate photoshoots of him on our couch. I find the pictures are cute and they always brighten up my day. My sister, Ariel, just got out of a bad marriage and my mom and 2 brothers were helping her pack her things up. At one point, my sister's phone died and she asked to use mine to make an important call. I agreed and I assumed that she would bring back my phone in a few minutes. I assumed Tiana sent a picture of herself while I was working, when my sister had my phone, because, when I stopped to take a break, my mom and Ariel approached me, my phone in hand, about Tiana's scandalous behavior. They showed me a selfie of Tiana, sent a few minutes after I had given my phone to Ariel, of her breastfeeding. Nothing was even exposed, she was smiling, the photo was mostly of her face. Ariel told me that it was ungodly and indecent, for my wife to be sending pictures of that nature to me. Again, there was barely any boob in the pic. Then, my sister pulls up a video of Tiana in the mirror, showing off her new dress, baby on her waist. The dress showed a little cleavage, but I didn't think it was anything too serious. Again, Ariel started to go on a rant about how inappropriate Tiana was behaving as a new mother. In the moment, I was in disbelief and somewhat amused, so I stayed silent. She kept going off about how disturbed she was after seeing those pictures and how dirty she felt after. I was tired of listening, so I pointed to a sink and told her to wash her eyes out with soap if it was bothering her that much. This did not help the overall situation. Ariel stormed off and my mom told me that I should be more sensitive and understanding about her marriage situation. When I told my wife, she laughed, but suggested I apologize to help everything go back to normal. Was I too harsh? Not the a-hole. If your wife sent you full-blown nudes, neither her nor you would be in the wrong either. What you 2 send each other is no one else's business. But photos of her feeding your child? They are the a-holes for their judgments on that. Am I the a-hole for quietly packing my stuff and leaving my family's house without telling anyone after my dad threatened to kick me out? I, 23 female, live at home. I am in grad school and work part-time plus intern at an office. I graduate in June and I've been applying to jobs as much as I can so I can finally move out. My sister, 20 female, Also lives at home but is doing school online and doesn't work. I try to help with chores around the house as much as possible, although it's difficult since I leave the house early in the morning and come home late at night. Last week, I came home and there were clean dishes in the dishwasher. I said I'm gonna take a quick shower then empty the dishwasher, and my dad went on a rant about how I'm useless and never help around the house and that my sister is always the one doing everything. I explained that I do help and that just because they haven't seen me help doesn't mean that I don't. He asked me to give him an example and I told him that I took the garbage out the night before. The conversation escalated to him saying that I should shut up and not argue any longer because he can easily make me homeless if he wanted to. I said okay and went upstairs. The next morning while everyone was still asleep I packed my things and left, and I've been sleeping in my car for a week and taking showers at my gym. Later in the day after I left, my parents called and my mom texted me asking where I am when I didn't come home when I was supposed to. I didn't reply and blocked my entire family's numbers and social medias and haven't spoken to them since. They have been calling and texting my friends asking them where I am. I haven't told any of my friends that I'm sleeping in my car, so I got very confused texts from friends asking me what's going on and why my parents are asking where I am and if I'm safe and okay. I told my closest friend that I left home and that I'm safe and let her know to tell my parents that I'm fine, but I have no desire to speak to them anymore. They've been begging my friend to disclose my location and asking her to ask me to allow them to speak to me. I went to my friends yesterday and she told me that what I did was awful and that I should speak to them. I told her that they threatened to make me homeless, so I left by my own volition, but she's insisting that making them worry about my safety is a horrible thing to do, but I honestly think I just gave them what they asked for. They wanted to get rid of me, so I left. Am I the a-hole for leaving and refusing to communicate with them? Not the a-hole, but maybe talk to your local PD and let them know that if your parents try to file a missing persons report it's a waste of time because you're not missing. They threatened to kick you out for not helping, so you left. Sounds like a win-win to me. Can you talk to any of your friends about staying with them while you get things together? Am I the a-hole for taking my baby to see my family against my wife's wishes, and then telling her she needs to see a therapist? We came home from the hospital 5 weeks ago with our first child, a boy. For the next 4 weeks, my wife did not let any of my family visit our son. Her mother and sister came over several times a week. My wife refuses to let my family see him because she doesn't want to play host. My family understands that being a new mom is stressful and they have no expectations of being treated like proper guests. I told her it's not fair that her family can come and go as they please, but my family can't even meet him. She said her family comes over to help her, which is not really true. They just hold the baby a little, and if the baby isn't sleeping then I am the one taking care of him while they are here. They don't clean or anything. At most they might bring some takeout on the way over. Finally I decided I will be taking the baby to see my parents last weekend. My wife doesn't breastfeed, so I got all the formula and diapers and everything I would need for a couple days and packed a bag. I thought this was a win-win because my wife could have some time to herself or come along and she would be under no pressure to host anyone. But she got mad when I told her what I would do, but I told her this was happening. I am the baby's father and my family has a right to see him just as hers does. She refused to come along and said she can't believe I'm treating a new mother this way. I left on Friday evening and didn't hear anything from my wife on Saturday, but her sister and mom were over and sent a bunch of texts basically accusing me of abusing a new mother. Finally on Sunday she started sending me text after text on how I was a terrible husband, how I kidnapped her son, how a baby can't be separated from its mother, etc. It got so bad that I cut my visit short and drove home. She was very mad when I got home and refusing to speak to me. The next day when the baby was asleep I sat her down and tried to calmly explain to her that I am the father of the baby, so I have as much right to where he goes and who he sees as she does. We are equal parents and she needs to accept reasonable compromises when we disagree, like my family being able to see our son and she not having to host them. She called me in a hole and shouted that she gets more say because she's the one who was pregnant with him. At that point I said if she thinks that way and the accusations she texted me, I think she really needs to see a doctor and get assessed for PPD because her behavior is not normal. She called me an a-hole and said I was abusing my position as the earner. Money was never part of any discussion. She has been giving me a near silent treatment all week, resisting any attempts to discuss therapy, and her sister has texted me saying I should apologize to her for what I said. I told her sister that I had said absolutely nothing wrong in response to being accused of kidnapping and being a lesser parent to my son. I am standing my ground, but I need an outside perspective. Am I the a-hole? An overnight visit to your family's home, over her objections as well, is very different from her family coming to visit for a few hours. You can easily imagine how your equivalency argument would be perceived by a judge if it got to that point. The more reasonable compromise was to invite your family over to a porch visit, for which you'd prepare all snacks etc., and give your wife notice so she can plan to A. Stay inside, B. Be elsewhere, or C. Join in on the visit. You have equal say in who is invited onto the property. That would have been a more defensible compromise than taking the infant out of the home overnight and away from the mother. You are the a-hole. Not the a-hole. In the words of Judge Judy, dads are not second-class citizens. And a father has no less rights to a child. He is also your child. That wasn't kidnapping, that was a parent taking their own child to see their family. You gave her a perfectly reasonable décision, join or not. Completely her decision and she chose not. You're right, she needs to be assessed. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to name our kids after Minecraft? I, female 34, am pregnant with twin boys and my husband, male 34, told me that he was dead set on naming our sons Notch and Jeb. I know most of you are probably unaware, but these are the names of two of the people who created Minecraft. My husband is a big Minecraft fan and builds stuff on the game a lot and has Minecraft posters. He even said he wants to play Minecraft with his sons. I told my husband that I want to give our children regular names, not after Minecraft because they are not objects, and my husband got really defensive about it, saying that he should be able to choose because he is their father, and I never gave any name suggestions. I will never name my children after Minecraft because I don't want them to get bullied and feel like it's dehumanizing to name them after a game. I told my husband that I'd rather get a divorce than name our kids after Minecraft, and he got really angry and raised his voice. I'm pregnant and my hormones maybe made me really emotional because I started crying. A few hours after that, we calmed down and I asked him again and he said he will for sure name the kids Notch and Jeb. Am I the a-hole?